This is Renee Collins.
And Whitney Acke.
Welcome to Overtones. Welcome, everyone. You are listening to the 21st broadcast of Overtones on WLXU 93.9 FM, Lexington Community Radio. We are coming to you from the beautiful and historic Lyric Theater in the great city of Lexington, Kentucky. I am Renee Collins, your host, and I am joined, as I am each and every week, by Lexington musician and songwriting extraordinaire, Whitney Acke. Let's all welcome Whitney to the show, everyone. Woo! We have just listened to the sounds of Lexington's Pop Band of the Year and local music scene sensation, Brother Smith, who open our show each and every week with their hit song, Happy Tune. And Whitney, a few weeks back, we held our very first edition of Talking About My Generation, which brought us some of Kentucky's all-star musicians representing various generations to contribute not only their musical talents, but their perspectives on what each generation can learn from and appreciate about the other generation. And we had Ray Adams and his daughter Chelsea, we had Gail Winters and her son Trent Bratton, and we had WRFL's John Clark and his daughter, WLXU's Mary Clark, on our last show. And today we have three more teams of musicians to add to our Talking About My Generation Musical Dream Teams Hall of Fame. And Whitney, how excited are we to have this all-star cast on our show today?
We are thrilled. It's going to be a great show.
Whitney and I are welcoming singer-songwriters today who have a broad range of musical artistry and significant contribution to this local music scene here in Lexington and beyond. And we are going to hear some of them sing some of the songs they are sharing with this community, but we're also going to talk to them today about who they like to listen locally to. So without further ado, here is your Kentucky Overtones starting lineup. First up, Ray Adams and his daughters, Chelsea Adams and Savannah Hash. Let's welcome them to the show, everyone. Woo! Also on the show, we have Joslyn, Hampton, and Marty Charters from Joslyn and the Sweet Compressions. Let's welcome them to the show. Yeah. Okay, and also we are going to welcome Lexington legend Greg Austin and Grayson Jenkins, who is also a Lexington legend. And they're going to pair up as a team today as well, and I'll tell you why later in the show. Let's welcome both of them to the show. And Whitney, today we're going to start this all off with a visit and a song from Lexington's Grayson Jenkins. And Grayson, you've been very busy since you first appeared on Overtones in February. You were getting ready to go on tour. Where did you go and how did all that go for you?
Drove all night on the 4-lane, crossed the river by sunrise.
It was great. I went from Lexington to LA. Part of it was for fun, part of it was to play. But I got to play in St. Louis and Lincoln and Denver and Breckenridge, Colorado, and then I went out to California and stayed with a friend for a little bit. So it was awesome. I think it was 5,600 miles solo in the car, and only ran into one mean person, I guess, the whole time. That was in Las Vegas, so I figure that's pretty successful for that many miles.
That is successful. And what do you have coming up this summer?
I'm playing a few different festivals. Playing at Master Musicians Festival in Somerset, and that's a big honor. John Prine's headlining that one, so I was elated to get on that lineup, and we get to open for him about 8 hours before him afternoon. That's supposed to be a joke. We play at 1:30, and I think he plays at 9. So
Well, we would all believe it. Let's say that's your story, and you're going to stick to
I'm
it.
going to stick to it.
Okay, well, we are very excited for you about that opportunity.
Yeah, I'm pumped, and we're doing Kicking on the Creek down in Urban, Kentucky. That's in September. With Tyler Childers and the Wooks and a few others.
Yeah, and another all-star lineup.
Yeah, and then just playing all over the place. That summer's a busy time.
Yeah, well, we are real excited to be able to listen locally to you this summer.
Yeah, excited to be here.
What are you going to play for us in this opening ceremony edition of Talking About My Generation on Overtones?
This is a song, it's a new song called Cowboy Dream. And I was co-writing, I've recently started doing more of that. I was co-writing with Ryan Allen and Abby Hamilton, a couple of great musicians here in town. And was looking back through my phone notes of that trip that I took out west. And there was a day that I was in Wyoming, and I started writing a song about what it would be like to be a cowboy. And we wrote a song about how cowboys kind of get away with some stuff just by the nature of their lifestyle. And so kind of related that to the musician lifestyle and came out with a song called Cowboy Dream.
Well, we can't wait to hear it. Without further ado, Grayson Jenkins on Overtones.
Alrighty.
Caught up in this cowboy dream right through sunset to Wyoming. I made good time across the high plains. I stumbled in a tavern for my whistle to wet. There's men in the corner making their bets. It's a different town, but it sure looks the same. Oh, but if I was a cowboy, you wouldn't blame me for acting this old way. You never have to wonder why you couldn't get me to stay. Playing in these crowded bars, it's cheap cigarettes and high-dollar guitars. And when the music dies, I'm all alone. These women on the road are good for a night. They hold me close and I feel alright. But when they wake up, I'll be long gone. And oh, but if I was a cowboy, you wouldn't blame me for acting this old way. You never have to wonder why you couldn't get me to stay. Freedom has always been my drive, but now I'm sitting here on the other side and I'm holding it all in the palm of my hand. And I'm wondering if it's what I need, 'cause the choices I made and the life I lead have left me blowing like the desert sands. Oh, but if I was a cowboy, you wouldn't blame me for acting this old way. You never have to wonder why you couldn't get me to stay. 'Cause I always ride away.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Grayson. We are going to hear more from Grayson later in the show, but for now, stick around as we will be back with our first Talking About My Generation musical dream team, Ray Adams and his daughters Chelsea and Savannah, after the break. Great job. We are back, and you are listening to Overtones, hosted by Renee Collins and Whitney Acke on WLXU 93.9 FM, Lexington Community Radio. And you've just listened to the sounds of Team Adams on our Talking About Our Generation show. That's Ray Adams and his daughters Chelsea Adams and Savannah Hash. Let's welcome Team Adams to our Generation show, everyone.
Yeah.
So first of all, generationally speaking, we have in this team a baby boomer dad and his two millennial daughters. That sounds like a sitcom, doesn't it?
It does.
We have Savannah is a Gen X millennial and Chelsea is a Gen Y millennial. So Whitney's going to talk to this wonderful family, and we're going to learn more about what they do, what type of music they like, and what they appreciate about each other's generation.
Yeah, hey guys. Hey.
Hello.
So happy that you guys are here. Tell me, okay, I guess I need to talk to Chelsea and Savannah first. So, Ray, you can just get out of the hot seat for a minute. But tell me how it was growing up in a house with Ray Adams, with musicians all around, and if that impacted you musically.
It was crazy. I mean, it was a party all the time.
Yeah.
Rock stars everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was pretty normal. Like, it was just the norm. Dad did a lot of recording, so we did a lot of playing, while, listening from the outside. We knew to be quiet and listen, and we loved that. Like, that was awesome.
Yeah, I remember while he would do those recordings or come home late at night after work, and I'm supposed to be in bed, that I just tiptoe, down in the hallway and just listen and just be in awe. So it's just awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Very, very cool. So, Ray, let me put you on the hot seat first.
That didn't last very long, Ray.
Okay. Yeah, he thought he was going to escape talking. So, in regards to how your generation reacted to and performed music, what do you think is different with your generation of your children?
That opinion of mine changes from time to time, but right now in the music in this town, I'm just very impressed and blown away with. There was a time not too long ago there really wasn't a really good music scene going on in town, and it's been a lot of the younger generation that has found a space and a way to share their voice. That it's just mind-blowing right now. We got some great talent in this town.
We do. It's happening.
And I've always said there's a different work ethic, and I think you hear that all across the lines of the different generations. But, when I worked with Greg, we worked 6-7 days a week, sometimes 9 jobs a day, and rehearsal 3 or 4 times a day, and people nowadays talk about how they're wore out from working. I had to work 2 jobs this weekend. But it's changing. These bands are working really hard. They're doing a lot of traveling. It's a lot harder to do it now than it was back then. money's not the same. You have to do a lot of traveling and a lot of legwork.
Yeah, I agree with that, don't you?
Absolutely. I think there's lots to be said about that because I think that the generation of now, the younger generation of musicians, are definitely working extremely hard.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, and in many cases, like Ray said, they're working other jobs.
And it's different now because a lot of them you have to do everything. You do your own graphic work, you do your own recordings, you do, it's a lot more to it than it was back then.
Yeah, the days of A&R people are gone.
Yeah.
Yes, and a lot of these millennials know how to do a lot of that work themselves as
Right.
well, and that's a big difference. And, we have Grayson on the show today, too, and Grayson made the decision to leave his job to pursue his music career, and that's another choice that, musicians are having to make that may or may not have been the same back then. So, and we'll talk with him a little bit more about that, too. But what are you going to sing for us next? I can't get enough of these family harmonies. Can you, Whitney?
They're amazing.
We're going to do a Beatles tune.
Sounds awesome. This is Team Adams on our Talking About Our Generation show on Overtones.
Here come on, flat top, he come grooving up slowly. He got juju eyeball, he won holy roller. He got head down to his knees. Got to be a joker, he just do what he please. Yeah, yeah. He wear no shoe shine, he got toe jam football, he got monkey finger, he shoot Coca-Cola, he said, I know you, you know me. One thing I can tell you is you've got to be free. Come together right now over me. He bet production, he got old wrist gumbo, he got oh no sideboard, he won spinal cracker, he got feet down low his knees. Hold you in his armchair, you can feel his disease. Come together right now over me. The roller coaster, he got early warning, he
All right, Ray, you're in the hot seat again. Are you ready?
Yeah, I don't think it ever cooled off.
So we are talking about my generations today. So I know I talked to you a little bit about the younger generation, but what do you think that baby boomers can learn from the millennial generations?
There's a lot of little things. We've talked about this many a times, but Greg taught me everything about being a professional in the business, and he always was. And you know, respect where you're playing at and who you're playing for, and remember that you're working for them. There's a lot of little things. We can make a list a mile long, but you know, when you go into a bar and you tear down and leave, you know, kind of put it back to where you found it. You know, pick up your stuff.
I really like that one.
I think everybody would agree with that.
And it serves two purposes. One, you show respect to the bar, and two, you find crap that you leave behind.
Well, that's a good point.
True. Yeah.
I'm all the time
Greg used to make
telling.
us, every one of us do it, and then he'd do it himself. I mean, we would check it like 6, because we always find stuff left behind.
Absolutely.
But you know, you got to follow your heart. You got to. Now, I didn't learn this till later in life, but you got to be truthful in your writing, truthful with yourself and where you're at and what you're doing and the reality of what you're doing. I think that's very important.
I think so too. I think those are great points to be made. Okay, girls. I'm here again with Chelsea and Savannah, part of Team Adams. What do you think that the millennials can learn and appreciate about the baby boomers, like your dad?
Well, one thing my dad taught me growing up was that you never learn everything. Like, everyone has something to bring to the table. And you never hit a limit of, like, you've learned everything you know? So I think that's a huge thing that a lot of millennials, they
think they know it all?
Yeah.
No.
And I can probably be like that sometimes, but I always have that little voice in the back of my head, which is his voice, that says, you know, there's always something else to learn from everyone.
Yeah, and Savannah, what are your thoughts on that?
I think I've learned that you just be yourself. Don't try to be anybody else. You know, there's only one you, and people are there to see you do what you do best. And I think that's what I've learned.
I think that's true, because I think with social media in our generation, it's really hard to not
be yourself.
To not compare and, like, want to be somebody else.
Yeah.
And that's something we did not have to deal with, right? And I think that's a really good point. And Whitney, again, this is a theme that we continue to hear almost every week about being authentic and being your authentic self in everything you do.
So one more question, and it's painless, I promise. Who are the three of you listening locally to these days?
Well, I'll go first. I listen, obviously, to Dad and Whitney, and I listen to a lot of Grayson and Brother Smith and Nick Jamerson, and who else? I love Magnolia. They've been on here a few times, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I like to at least go watch everyone once, you know. There's not a whole lot of time in the day, but at least if I see someone new that's playing music, I like to at least go to one show and see what it's all about. And
Yes, and we see you out several places.
Yeah.
What are some of the favorite venues that you like to go see
Well,
these bands at?
the Burl is definitely my favorite place to go.
Another continuing theme.
Nice.
Yeah. Outside of the Twisted Cork, which I love the Twisted Cork because it's so singer-songwriter friendly. It's very, chill, and everyone is accepting, and everyone's there for the same purpose. And where else? Those are probably my two hot spots. That I
Those
go
are
to.
two
Yeah.
good ones. So let's put Ray on the hot seat with who he likes to listen locally to and where he likes to listen.
Well, luckily we do the songwriter in the round at the Twisted Cork, and we get to hear a lot of artists. Some of them that stick in my head: Aaron Boyd, Grayson, Derek Spencer.
Yeah.
There's so much talent. somebody we're listening to a lot right now. We kind of helped with the project, but Ron Sinclair, she's like a 16-year-old, so much talent, doing great things. Got a new album coming out.
You all have been very great mentors to her along the way, and that's another really great thing that I love seeing in the city.
Yeah, she's amazing, and there's a lot of people, you know, one thing, if you work a lot, you don't get to go out a lot. When I played with Greg in the old days, we hardly never got to hear anybody unless they come to see us. Greg was always had an open door policy. They come and get up and play with us. But luckily, we had the opportunity for stuff like the songwriter rounds and certain events at different places around. There's a lot of great music venues in town right now.
Well, that's wonderful, and I didn't really think about that, but Ray and Whitney have an opportunity to basically work and also get to enjoy all of this wonderful music. So there's probably really great motivation for you all to try to seek some of those acts out to not only entertain you while you're working, but for everybody else to enjoy as well.
That's true.
So they are definitely a team that's working in concert, is what I call it.
Yes,
So.
they've brought a lot of people to my attention, and a lot of people in the area through the Twisted Cork and the Songwriter Night they do quarterly.
And that's another great advantage where we can share generational influence, you know, with each other. So that's really outstanding. I am just so glad that you all are here today. Awesome. What are you going to sing for us next?
We will do Angel from Montgomery.
Oh, wonderful. This is Team Adams, Ray Adams, his daughters Chelsea and Savannah on Overtones. Y'all are sounding great on this too. Blends are just beautiful.
All right,
I'm an old woman named after my mother. Oh man is another child that's grown old. If dreams were thunder, lightning was the sire, this old house would have burnt down a long time ago. Make me an angel that flies from Montgomery. Make me a poster of an old rodeo. Just give me one thing I can hold on to. To believe in this living, it's just a hard way to go. When I was a young girl, I had me a cowboy. He wasn't much to look at, just a free rambling man. But that was a long time. No matter how I tried, years just blow by like a broken down dam. Make me an angel that flies from Montgomery. Make me a poster of an old rodeo. Just give me one thing I can hold on to. To leave in this living, it's just a hard way to go. There's flies in the kitchen, I can hear them, they're buzzing, and I ain't done thing since I woke up today. How the hell can a person go to work in the morning, come home in the evening, having nothing to say? Make me an angel that flies from Montgomery. Make me a poster of an old rodeo. Just give me one thing I can hold on to. To leaving this living is just a hard way to go. Make me an angel that flies from Montgomery. Flies from Montgomery. Make me a poster of an old rodeo. Just give me one thing that I can hold on to. To leaving this living is just a way to go. To leaving this living, it's just a hard way to go.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We will be back after these messages with more great music coming up next on Overtones.
One, two, three. I've got love on the double. Had a man and somehow ended up with another. If I don't make a choice, I'm choosing a world of trouble. You just can't be in love on the double. I got love on the double. I had a man and somehow ended up with another. At first it all seemed cool, then real life burst a bubble. You just can't be in love on the double. I got to thinking I could have it all. I was having fun, how could that be wrong? Soon as I figured out I wanted more than just a ball, I knew I couldn't go on like this for long. double, yeah. The double, yeah. The double, yeah.
Welcome back to Overtones, hosted by Renee Collins and Whitney Acke on WLXU 93.9 FM, Lexington Community Radio. And you've just listened to the sounds of Joslyn and the Sweet Compression. Let's welcome Joslyn Hampton and Marty Charters to Overtones, everyone.
Thank you.
Marty and Joslyn, welcome to this special edition of Overtones titled Talking About My Generation.
Thank you.
Marty, you had an epiphany of sorts one day about this band that surfaced out of two things from what I understand. Joslyn was performing with cover bands primarily, and Marty, you were touring extensively with several high-profile bands, including Cincinnati-based roots rocker H. Bomb Ferguson and Chicago bluesman Junior Wells. And you were looking for a new project, and Joslyn was looking to go to the next level in performing originals. Do I have that right?
That's right.
What do you have to add to this story?
Well, the interesting parts of that had dried up, and I was drifting into playing in clubs for a living and just very unhappy with it. Loved the people I was playing with, great musicians and stuff, but it had no focus, and it wasn't going anywhere. I was just, I was in neutral. And just becoming very disillusioned with playing music. And so then Joslyn emerges as not just somebody who can sing. I mean, I said, well, she's world class. I mean, she's as good as I've ever heard. So I said, why don't we save both our lives here? You need a career. Let's write some songs. Let's focus on original music. Let's get a career going for you here and give me something to care about again. And she said, I'm in. So we attacked it, and we've just been thrilled with how things have gone so far.
And Joslyn, what is your backstory coming into this band?
Well, as he was saying, I was doing a cover band. I had only started doing cover bands like in 2012. Before then, I did. I was a music major at Kentucky State University. Sung in church, so that was pretty much my background, was church and opera. I got into doing I got into covers with Tim, and he was looking for a singer, so I was like, cool, let's do it. And I did that with him for several years. Still do on occasion, but then Marty was like, let's do our own thing with original music. We'll go a lot further with original music, so let's make that happen. And we got in the lab, aka third bedroom, and wrote some songs. He did most of the compositions, and he had some lyrics, and we just went from there.
Wonderful. So here is an example of what came out of this collaboration of talent, skills, and passion. Once again, let's welcome Joslyn and the Sweet Compression to the Overtone Studio singing Sunday Driver.
I spend my life in the passing lane, speeding here and there, just about to go insane. Ripping and running to and fro, black Corvette, baby, watch me go. Gotta find a lover that can ease the pace. I want Sunday smooth until the borderline. I want it nice and slow just to make me feel alright. And even though pedal to the floor is sometimes out of sight, I need a Sunday driver taking me through tonight. Never could live with getting left behind. I keep rushing around, just about to lose my mind. Ripping and running to and fro, black Corvette, baby, watch me go. Lord, I need a lover that can stop the race. I want Sunday groove until the borderline. I want it nice and slow just to make me feel alright. And even though pedal to the floor is sometimes out of sight, I need a Sunday driver taking me through tonight. it slow just to make me feel alright. And even though pedal to the floor is sometimes out of sight, I need a Sunday driver taking me through tonight.
We are back on WLXU 93.9 Lexington Community Radio, and you just listened to Joslyn and the Sweet Compression. We are talking about our generations today on Overtones with several other musical power teams in the studio. And Marty, when you were on Red Barn Radio, you brought awareness to our audience in regards that your band was both multicultural and multi-generational. And you were really proud of the musical excellence that comes along with having such a diverse group of individuals in your band. Describe that landscape to our audience and why you think it works so well.
Well, one of the first things I asked Joslyn was if she was interested in doing a project that featured real songs by real people played with real instruments rather than a kind of a computer-generated record that most modern R&B is constructed from. And so she said, yeah, all day. That's me. That's exactly what I want to do. So, but I was determined. The easy thing for me to do would be to go to a bunch of veterans that I knew that played well, that I just pack her band with old guys. I was determined to. I didn't want her to be a novelty act. I didn't want it to be the young girl and all these old guys. And so we were careful about finding the right people, and not just for image, but for the vitality that the youth brings. I didn't want old jaded guys. I got one old guy that isn't jaded, and that is Smith Donaldson on bass. He was ready to attack this new project, and the rest of the musicians, we found people who were young and hungry and ready to bring it. We knew it would be multi-gender. We knew it would be multi-generational. It happened to turn out to be multiracial as well. So those three things, I think we're interesting visually, and I think we connect with a lot of people in that regard.
Yes, I agree with that. And Joslyn, you were quoted in the Lexington Herald Leader to say, we wanted something new. We wanted something different that kind of invites everyone. Music a teenager could be into as well as my grandmother. Mm-hmm. We wanted to cover the basics and try something that's not really going on here in Lexington. And there's nothing quite like what we're doing right now. I think this is really important in all aspects of life, not only business or music, but to continually place ourselves in situations where we can experience life from all generational perspectives.
Right.
So when I go to your concerts, I notice the goal you set out to achieve is present in the audience that's watching your band perform. Why do you think it is so different and inviting, and why do you think that works so well?
Honestly, I'm not sure why, but I'm glad it does.
Yeah.
I do my best to try to make everyone feel what I'm saying or what I'm doing on that stage. I want to make sure everybody is paying attention. Everybody feels like I'm talking to them, like they are a part of my show. Like I want them to feel like they understand me. I want to make sure that I'm speaking to their spirits, so to speak. And I don't think there isn't an age limit or a gender or anything else that needs to be crossed. I don't know how to articulate what I'm trying to say, but I think my expression is evident, and how I want to touch everyone, I think, is evident. And I do my best to make sure they feel me on that stage, regardless of what may be going on in their lives. I hope maybe I sing a song that they love and makes them feel good that day. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not the greatest at articulating what I'm trying to say all the time, but
I think you're doing a great job.
I just want to speak to people in the best way I know how, and that is with my voice.
What do you think is so special about the way that she leads your band in terms of engaging the audience?
Well, her growth in that way has been amazing. We undertook this because of what a singer she is. The way she's emerged as a front person has just been super exciting. She was pretty green. She had done some stage plays, so I knew she could do it. I'd seen her do some stage plays where, she was acting, singing, and expressing, but she was a little timid up front. She had more of secondary role in her prior things. So now it's Joslyn in the Sweet Compression. So she was all by herself up front there, and she just attacked it. She just said, "This, I'm going to need to be comfortable with this, so here I go." And she just, I think she's as fine a performer as she is a singer now. So that part's been thrilling for all of us. We've watched it. In a very short period of time, she went from pretty timid to totally comfortable.
I would agree with that. And Joslyn, I don't know you very well, but I do kind of take you for more the introverted type. Am I right?
Yes.
And there are a lot of musicians. I think it would be really surprising for people to know that there are a lot of musicians that we feel are probably very extroverted in life, but have more of a tendency towards introversion.
Yeah.
And how do you go from that transition from that's what your natural inclination is, and that's your personality type, to projecting this on stage?
Listen, it's like a switch is flipped. You just become this stage persona. It has nothing to do with who you really are on your day to day. Normally, I'm a homebody. I like to stay in the house, kind of a shut in. I'll read a book, have a glass of wine, and I'm good. But when you get on the stage, it's almost like the people feed you. It's a flip of a switch. It really is. And it's not that I'm not being myself on stage, because I'm still totally myself. It's just, I don't know.
A you that only exists up there.
Yeah. I mean, it's the most amazing feeling on the planet to have people actually enjoy what you're doing while you're enjoying what you're doing. And
I recognize
that, you're
that
making
person up there. That's you. It's just that's where we see that part of you. Yeah.
That's the only time you'll really see me outside of a closed person is on the stage. That's where I express myself the most. That's probably the most naked and vulnerable you'll ever see me, is when I'm on stage. If that makes sense.
It does make sense. So I'll put you two on the spot, because this has been an interesting question we've been asking some of our guests the last few weeks. We saw you perform at the Burl most recently, although we've seen you perform at many places. Where do you like to perform? What are there some places that are very special for you to perform, and why do you think that happens? And then also, where do you think are some of the best venues for people to listen locally to?
The Burl, without a doubt. We love playing at Willie's, locally known. The sound man there is an incredible talent, Matt. He's got the room completely figured out, and we love it too. But and other places. In fact, I'll just mention quickly, Lexington is blessed to have a number of outstanding sound men. So there are a lot of great places to play, and we love them all. But the Burl, I think, is our favorite because it is a music venue solely. There are not waitresses and televisions and appetizers and distractions. There aren't even chairs. People come for the music, so it's a concert atmosphere. They stand, they dance, they pack up front, and the energy that creates cannot be duplicated anywhere else. Cosmic Charlie's the same kind of way. We just haven't had our night there yet. But the Burl's been fantastic for us, and I think we agree that's our favorite place to play in town.
Agree.
Yeah, and I think it's where people get the purest musical experience. It's the best place to see anyone, I would think, because it's free of distraction. It's all about the music.
Yep.
Not to mention top sound people. Nolan, Chris, they're outstanding.
Joslyn, what year were you born?
1987.
Okay, so you are a millennial.
I am.
Okay. And I would have guessed it had been around...
On the backside of it.
On the backside of it, okay. And Marty, year were you born?
I was born in 89. No, I'm 50 years old. I was born in 67.
Okay.
So we represent a couple of entirely different generations.
Yes, you are actually a Generation Z.
Is that what I am?
Yes. And you're kind of close to the baby boomer, but because of that year, you're Generation Z. I do a lot of generational training as well. So that's why I know that. Generational training as well. So that's why I know that. So we have millennial and a Generation Z. So, Marty, what do you think you learned most from Joslyn's generation?
Important things like the business, how the business of music has changed. I had to completely rewire my brain for this. My prior band, we didn't engage in any sort of promotion at all. I played with people who were either famous or semi-famous, and I was a sideman, and they had their own promotional machine. Then I played in a long-standing Cincinnati band that had a series of house gigs and stuff, and we didn't really engage in promotion. So you'd have to go back to when I was in my early 20s, since I promoted a band. We used to go out in the middle of the night and staple flyers to telephone poles. And then when you saw the cops come in, hide your staple gun and then pick it back up. It's entirely different now, and the young people in the band definitely hit me to how you do that. And it's all social media driven, and so there was a learning curve there. And then I don't know if I learned it from them so much as I was just gifted with a renewed vitality. I mean, they feel like I used to feel, and now I feel that way again, where I can't wait for the gig, love to even rehearse, and enjoy the whole game again.
Well, the two baby boomers in the room appreciate that as well. And we have found feeling very renewed by all of this musical energy as well here locally. So, Joslyn, now it's your turn. What do you think you've learned, and what do you think you still have to learn from Marty's generation?
That's a good question.
Nothing. She's got it all figured out.
I have everything figured out. I need to learn nothing. No, honestly, they kind of are a place we want to get to, as far as being so fluid with their skills, and they have a lot of knowledge to offer us, like as far as what to do, like with overexposure and things like that, things I would have never thought about. Like, why not just play the gig?
Right.
Let's do it. Go. But he has more knowledge on, okay, we want to pull back here. We want to go to this gig, not this gig, for this reason. I think he has more knowledge of the business of it than he realizes. I mean, majority of it, a lot of it is the same except for promoting. If you see a show, you'll see me always saying, like us on Facebook, like us on Twitter. We need you to do that because, we're trying to get out of just Kentucky. We love Kentucky. It's where we belong. It's where we're from. This is where we started. But we also would like to grow and, send our music other places. So I think their ability to can't articulate.
We've just been around the block a few times.
They've been around the block. They know what to do, what not to do, who you can trust, who you cannot trust. That sounds kind of shady. That might be legitimate.
And on stage survival too.
Yeah.
I think the younger ones are. That's another thing we've watched grow by leaps and bounds in a year. Is like, how do we get out of this, or what do we do right now? On stage survival. Smith and I know all about that.
Yeah.
Well, the next song we're going to hear is Honeybee, and the two of you all wrote that together, right?
We did.
And there is a video that's just exploding on YouTube.
Had a bunch of views. We're really happy with it.
What is it up to?
I think
45,000 views.
45,000 views, and it's absolutely phenomenal. So please go on YouTube and check out Honeybee by Joslyn and Sweet Compression.
Honeybee, what I want you to be. Adore me all the time. Give me everything I need. Honey, see what I want you to see. Don't fall because I'm right. I'm sure you'll agree. Observe the way I clear the stones out of your pathway. Make it smooth for you to move along. Just see that when I needed things all happen. there was someone you depend on, what you count on me for. Observe the way I clear the stones out of your pathway, make it smooth for you to move along. Just see that when I needed, things all happen my way. Honey, be there right where you belong. Honey, be what I want you to be. Exalt me all the time. Give me everything I need. Honey, see what I want you to see. I gifted you with sight. Use it for harmony.
We are thankful you've been part of this special edition of Overtones titled Talking About My Generation. You've just listened to Joslyn and the Sweet Compression, and we will be back after these messages with more great music and insights from Grayson Jenkins and Greg Austin. That's Team Jenkins Austin coming up next on Overtones.
Here we go. Magnolia, you're a sweet thing. You're driving me mad. Gotta get back to you, babe. You're the best I've ever had. You're the best I've ever had. Whippoorwill singing, soft summer breeze makes me think of my baby. I left down in New Orleans, left down in New Orleans. Whisper good morning so sweetly in my ear, and I'm coming home to you, babe. I'll soon be there. Well, I'll soon be there. First time I've done it in that key in about 20 years.
That was beautiful. We are back, and you are listening to WLXU 93.9 FM, and you've just heard from Lexington musical legend Greg Austin. Let's welcome him to the show, everyone. Greg, we are so happy to have you on the show today. And Greg has been playing the musical scene in Lexington for many years. And you can listen locally to Greg Austin along with Ray Adams every Monday night at the Twisted Cork. And we have had the opportunity to do just that a few Mondays since Greg started playing. And folks, it's a very, very enjoyable trip down memory lane, as well as musically superb evening. And it's a great way to spend with anyone you may have with you visiting for the summer or just for yourself. Greg and Grayson Jenkins are teaming up in this segment because Grayson has recorded one of Greg's songs on Grayson's recent CD. And Grayson, when you were on Red Barn Radio, you talked about how you consider Greg to be one of your mentors, don't you?
I do, definitely.
Talk about that to our audience.
Greg is probably one of the first musicians I ever saw in town, and really my first exposure to seeing somebody performing on stage their own songs. I didn't really grow up in a musical family at all. Sang in church a little bit, but when I moved to Lexington and started going out to bars, Redmond's downtown was one of the first places I went. And I would go watch Greg, and he played Paradise by John Prine, which is about the county that I'm from. And then I was just hooked. And but more than that, as I went more and more, starting to hear him play Somewhere in Kentucky and some of his other songs, it was attainable to be able to do something like that. I wasn't much of a picker or songwriter, didn't write any songs back then, but I think it was because I saw people on TV and on the radio and all these things, and it just seemed so unattainable because it's so far away. But then when you see somebody doing it right there on stage and doing it well, it kind of made it seem more approachable, and that's when I started writing songs and getting more into playing guitar. So I can honestly say, like, had I not gone there and watched Greg and some others, that I might not be, playing music full time. And so it's pretty crazy. And I think about that too when I'm playing, about, who might be sitting there watching, and I'm trying to put on the best performance you can, because it may give somebody the bug, for better or worse, to play music for the rest of their life.
Well, Grayson, you are such what I consider a student of great musicians. Yeah, and you are known as one of the most polite, one of the most appreciative and gracious musicians here in town. And I see you out a lot studying other bands. And he has on a Magnolia Boulevard t-shirt today as well.
Yeah, they're great.
But what do you most admire about Greg's career?
I think, and I don't know as much about the history, but just what little bit I know, it's just, I have this mentality of the train keeps rolling. And so it's like, he knew what he wanted to do, and he's still passionate about it. And a lot of people give up along the way, and I'm sure he's seen more people than I have that, when things get tough or when things don't go your way, you kind of just back off of it and do something else. But I really appreciate Greg's perseverance and just always committing to what he's going to do, and also appreciate his willingness to show me the ropes. I've been in other situations where you go watch somebody and you admire somebody, and they aren't really willing to share their thoughts or not really open up to you. But Greg has given me a lot of pointers, and we've talked about things outside of music, and it's just been a really cool thing to have, and to have that support.
Well, I hear a lot of his influence in your music, so
Yeah,
I can
definitely.
so easily see where that surfaced.
Yeah.
So, do you have another one to sing for us today? You opened the show.
Yeah,
And-
I could play another one.
Okay.
I was trying to decide what to play while they were singing, but this is a song called Maybe Katie, and it's a new one as well. When you write songs, I think your favorite songs that you've written are the most recent ones you've written sometimes, so whether they're good or not. But yeah, this is about losing a girl.
Hello, Katie dear, it's been some years since I've seen your face. Heard you got a couple of kids, a white-collar man, and a real nice place. Me, I'm still out here on the road, trying to figure out who I am. Sometimes I wonder where we'd be if I'd put that ring upon your hand. Maybe we could have made it work if I didn't hurt you by the way I favored myself all the time. Maybe if I heard you say when I walked away that a love like yours ain't easy to find. Maybe if it weren't for pride, and maybe if I only tried, maybe I'd be holding you tonight. Yes, I'm the beat down broken fool, but that you already know. Because a wiser man wouldn't be writing this, wouldn't let you go. Maybe we could have made it work if I didn't hurt you by the way I favored myself all the time. And maybe if I heard you say when I walked away that a love like yours ain't easy to find. Maybe if it weren't for pride, maybe if I only tried, maybe I'd be holding you tonight. Maybe if it weren't for pride, maybe if I only tried, maybe I'd be holding you tonight. Maybe I'd be holding you, maybe I'd be holding you, Katie, I'd be holding you tonight.
Thank you.
That was Grayson Jenkins on Overtones 93.9 Lexington Community Radio. And thank you so much for being here. We're going to talk to you a little bit more.
So we are so lucky to have Greg Austin and Ray Adams and Grayson Jenkins sitting right here in our studio today. Ray, could you tell us, or Greg, either one of you, tell us a little bit about how the two of you met?
It's a pretty good story. I've been on the road with a rock band for a few years and just got done with that. And we had a mutual friend, Dick Baker, had a music store here in town. And Greg asked if he knew any bass players, and he recommended me. At the time, I was working right next door to Austin City Saloon. And me and Greg kind of met right back behind Austin City in the parking lot, kind of like a drug deal, I guess. But Greg has to take it from here because
I was afraid for my health. Ray had, like, and this was back in what, 82 or 3 or something?
84, I think.
84. And it wasn't as popular as it is now, but he had an earring and a nose ring, and his hair was all spiked up. And I mean, I'd never seen anything like, honestly. And it's not meant to be funny. I just never seen anybody look like that. And I thought, oh my gosh, what is Dick Baker, what's he done to me? And I said, sir, I didn't know how old he was. I didn't know anything about him. He said, sir, would you like to play bass in a traveling band?
I was 20, I think.
Were you that old?
Yeah.
I would have never guessed. But anyway, he reluctantly said yes, and he didn't know anything at the time about country, folk rock. I don't think you did. You didn't act like
Not really. I was playing in a kind of heavy metal top 40 rock band. And, I met Greg back there and we talked about it, and I was excited, but I had no idea what I was getting into. I'd never even heard of him. Went to see him, I guess, fairly soon after that. Took a friend of mine with me, and I was blown away. And even though I didn't know a lot about country or folk or anything like that, my parents had a gospel group, and I just kind of thought, oh, okay. It was very familiar. Greg was always focused a lot on everything, but the harmonies was a big thing in his band at the time, and harmony came natural to me, especially coming out of the gospel upbringing, I guess. But Greg was scared to death. I had like 3 earrings in. Hair was a mess.
Do we have photos?
not of that particular
The
day.
Lexington Police Department do, I believe. But
He actually had to do some cleaning up before he came into the bar, because he was you don't go into a country kicking bar with looking like that.
I didn't know any different.
Well, I mean, you did something.
I put a hat on.
Put a hat on, yeah. 'Cause his hair was all spiked up and green and everything. But what a great bass player, guitar player, and harmonies, sings harmonies. Just he knows all the harmonies. He was a great addition to the band.
Oh, that's just incredible. Do you have another one that you can share with us today?
Oh, another song?
Yeah.
Yeah, what are you going to do,
Oh,
Greg? You want to do Muhlenberg? Since
Yeah, that'll be
Grayson's here,
good.
he can
Yeah,
sing
Oh,
harmony.
well, we got that.
Why don't we all split verses? How's that?
You all can sing harmony if you like.
Gonna have a trio here with Greg
Yeah,
Austin,
I can't
Grayson
do the verses,
Jenkins,
I'll
and
sing
Ray
harmony.
Adams.
When I was a child, my family would travel down to western Kentucky, where my parents were born. It's a backwards old town, I often remember. So many times, my memories were worn. Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River, where paradise lay? Now I'm sorry, my son, but you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train done hauled it away.
The times we would travel right down that Green River, abandoned old prison up by Adrian Hill, where the air smelled like snakes and we'd shoot with our pistols, but empty pop bottles was all we would kill. And Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River where paradise lay?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, my son, but you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train has hauled it away. When I die, let my ashes flow down that Green River. Let my soul roll on up into the Rochester Dam. I'll be halfway to heaven with paradise waiting, just 5 miles away from wherever I am. And Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River where paradise lay? Well, I'm sorry, my son, but you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train has hauled it away.
Fun.
Yeah. Every time I hear that, I think of you in the middle of Redmond screaming, Muhlenberg County.
Muhlenberg
And I used to, I didn't know who you were at the time. I was like, kid, shut up.
Exactly.
And another great story, right? And Ray, you sounded like, before I rudely interrupted you, you sound like you had another story to tell.
I don't know. Well, I got many, but a lot of them
Plead the
can't be
fifth.
told.
What's another favorite story from your time with the Greg Austin Band?
Well, I wanted to touch on basis. There was a time I was working with Greg that he had a little brush, possibly with stardom, and I think it's a great story. But Greg, why don't you tell him about your little music, not music, but movie experience that you had?
Yeah, we were playing in Philadelphia at the Philly Saloon at 4th and Chestnut in 1984, I guess, 85 maybe. And we got a call from a casting director for a movie, and they said they wanted somebody with no acting experience, somebody with a southern accent, and somebody plays a little banjo. I said, I can do all that. And so they flew me to New York the next day, and I walked in this thing, and they had on the wall, they had a pyramid, and they had names. Cher and was one of the names in the box, and who's that girl? Another famous actress, I can't think of her name. But anyway, they said, well, you'll probably be right here, and it was just like the third lead or something, and it was a movie called Silkwood.
So would that have
Anybody remember
been Meryl Streep, perhaps?
That's Meryl
Streep,
Streep.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the other one. And that was the first movie that Cher was in, and they said that I was probably going to get it, and I read in a magazine, in a trade magazine, that they gave it to Kurt Russell. Kurt Russell been acting since he was 4 years old. He doesn't have a southern accent, and he can't play banjo, which is the three things that they wanted me to do, and they hire him. He doesn't do any of those things. So,
Yeah, they wanted a no-name,
Yeah.
non-star actor, and they, of course, that's the movie studio going, no, we need a big name.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
think they
that's
should have
crazy.
picked you.
Well,
I'm glad they didn't
Wow,
take you.
I never heard that one.
oh yeah. We had more of those type of things that people will lie to you.
If you became a big star, you'd been gone to
God.
California. And
I'd be dead. I know that.
Well, we're glad you didn't go then.
Yes, thank you.
Whitney, you have some questions to talk to Grayson about.
All right.
Hey, Grayson.
Hey.
Yeah. So, Grayson, when I describe you to people, aside from your musical talent, I always say you are the most polite and gracious young musician in this area. That's immediately what I think about you. So,
praise.
yeah, I appreciate that so much about you. So, when you're thinking about the baby boomers that you respect so much, you talked a little bit about what you've learned from them. What would you tell your friends, like, to say, hey, look at these guys who've done this. You all might need to, like, work on this stuff a little bit. What would you?
Yeah, well, I think just to backtrack a little bit, my dad's a boomer, and he was 43 when I was born, and so for much of my life, I thought it was kind of like a drill sergeant, but he was just instilling stuff that I think you should have to kind of go through life. It makes things a lot easier, and so it made communicating with a lot of the baby boomers like Ray and Greg, once I met them, a little bit easier because I kind of know where they're coming from because my dad is a boomer and really look up to my dad and good friends with my dad. And so I think, one, respect, being professional, and then not complaining. And so I get a little peeved sometimes that, like they were saying, they used to play, 6 days a week or more. And I like to do that too. I like to play a lot. And so sometimes if, I'm trying to get people together to play, it's like, let's do this. The time's now. So I think that's one thing. Seems bands, and there is something to be said about oversaturating, nowadays. That can be a thing. But I think working hard, and it's not going to come easy, and I think a lot of people want it to. And so just being in it for the long haul, knowing what you want, and staying true to who you are, and trying not to get sidetracked by all the bumps in the road and the people on the side of the road.
Yeah, I think that's
Well
a
put.
great answer. Absolutely. Yeah, the time is now. That's really powerful. Thank you for that. So, while I've got you on the hot seat mic right now, Grayson, tell us about some of your favorite venues to perform or to attend shows at that are in the Kentucky region.
Yeah, there's several that stick out, and I started playing, first kind of venue or bar I was allowed to play in was Henry Clay's Public House, and so it would be remiss if I didn't mention that one. And as I've gotten older, it sometimes gets a little too rowdy for me at times. It's pretty fun, but I still like going down there. The Burl is a great venue. I think it serves a lot of purposes because you can have a rock and roll show there, you can have a singer-songwriter night, and I think that's a nice thing to have. Played at a venue recently in Bowling Green called Tidballs, and it's got a really neat character. It's known as a rock and roll joint, but we've been doing some singer-songwriter nights down there, and everybody's just kind of crammed in a 100-capacity room, and those smaller rooms are nice. Southgate House Revival is one of the best venues I think I've played at, and it's up there in Newport, Kentucky. So I've only been on the scene for maybe 5 or 6 years really playing out, but I've seen in the last 3 it's exploded with number of bands, number of venues, number of people in radio and TV and media wanting to work with artists here more, so we don't feel like we have to go somewhere else to get that stuff. And so venues and all the other things that come with it have really grown in the last few years.
So, Grayson, is there anyone that our listeners might not have heard of yet or might be up and coming that you would suggest they listen locally to?
Yeah, Abby Hamilton is a young lady I've been co-writing with a little bit. And I can't even remember how I met Abby, but she's phenomenally talented. She's got an EP out right now called Broke Girl, and she's great. She's like 22, 23, and so I'm envious of all the years she has ahead of her. And so she's really good. Ray mentioned earlier Aaron Boyd. We did a show with him back in Irvine, and I'd seen him play in other bands, but it was my first time hearing his solo stuff, and it's really, really good. And also, for the first time in my whole career, left my acoustic guitar at home that night, and he let me use his guitar.
Oh,
and so
he's a
I'm
friend.
forever indebted to him. But there's lots of good singer-songwriters. I think as more people play, it just other people catch the fire and want to get out there. And I think everybody's got good ideas and good songs. It's just a matter of getting out there and playing them and making them better. And one thing about this scene is it's so supportive. People support each other and come out to shows, and I've not seen really an ounce of competition since I've been doing it.
It is incredible in
It's
that
pretty
way.
crazy.
It is very inclusive.
It is.
It's a beautiful thing.
It is.
We've got to check out Abby Hamilton.
Yes,
We've
we
got to
do.
get her on here because
Yes.
you are about the 5th person this month that has said her
Really?
name to me, and I feel like the universe is saying, "Listen to Abby Hamilton."
She's really good. Really
We'll
good.
need to have her on the show soon as
Fantastic.
well. So, Ray, let's check out your interview skills here with Greg.
Well, I don't know if you get to listen locally much, but is there anybody in town that has caught your ear lately?
Mr. Jenkins here.
I think you mentioned Tyler Booth the other day.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's a really good singer. Is he just like 18 or something?
Yeah, he looks fairly young. I don't know.
Very young. And but Grayson, I want to say one thing about Grayson. All the nice things have been said about him are all true as far as I'm concerned. But he worked at a regular job for a long time, and I had a job lined up for him, but he was in England or somewhere with this other job. And when he came back, he quit shortly after that, and I noticed that when you don't have anything to fall back on, like you have a day job and you draw a paycheck every week, that's one thing. But when you get rid of that and you have to use this thing to make a living, I don't know. His intensity, his songwriting's got better. Everything's gotten better, I think. So I just want to lay that out and say I think you've done the right thing, and I think the best is yet to come for you, young man, and just keep doing what you're doing.
Appreciate that.
Yes, sir. That's about it. I don't get to see many people. I work, I don't know, and now I'm working about 5 nights or 5 jobs a week, so I don't get out much. And being a early baby boomer, I got to get in bed before 1 or 2. When y'all said that Ray was a baby boomer, I was thinking, what in the world am I if he's a baby boomer?
You were in that category too,
Pre-Civil
but just
War.
to kind of mention, Ray's birth year is the last year of the
Okay.
baby boomer. So
That was all planned.
So, Grayson, you recorded one of Greg's songs on your CD.
Yeah.
Sometime Sunday morning, stumbled from my bed, afraid of what the mirror might say to me. Memories of you so strong, a classic case of love gone wrong. Maybe someday I'll get it right.
Tell us about the background and the decision to sing that song on your CD and also in your concerts.
Well, I had heard the song at Redmond's several times, but then when Greg came over to Henry Clay's Public House and started playing, we got to know each other more and started jamming together some, and he gifted me a few of his vinyl records, and the first night he gave me the record that Somewhere in Kentucky is on, I spun that record and I put the needle back on that song and play it, and I woke up about 5 in the morning after that record had spun through probably 20 times on my couch and played it again. And then it was probably a year later we were thinking about songs to do for the album, and that song just kept coming up, and really kind of it wasn't 2 weeks before we started recording it, really decided we're going to do this, and it ended up being probably my favorite recording that we got on the album. We did a little bit different, and talking with Greg about that was fun because he really appreciated us making it our own, and yeah, I love that song. It's
So,
fan
Ray,
favorite.
So, Ray, tell us about, from your perspective, about the success of that song.
Well, it's people's always enjoyed it. It's a Kentucky song. We had pretty good airplay out of it at one time. My kids were raised with it, and when me and Chelsea started doing shows, we did the song. And strangely, she does it in the same key as Greg, but an octave higher. But it just, it's a song that everybody can relate to. You're talking about your man or woman being with somebody else.
Together side by side in a place that
It's beautiful and it's haunting and it's more.
Yes.
Okay, since we have all these awesome people here today, would you all do Somewhere in Kentucky for us?
Sure.
Yeah. So this song was written by Greg Austin and Kenny Rice. And in the studio today, we have Greg Austin, Grayson Jenkins, Ray Adams, Savannah Hash, and Chelsea Adams, all about to perform Somewhere in Kentucky just for you.
Cool. Okay. Sometime Sunday morning, stumbled from my bed, afraid of what the mirror might say to me. And memories of you so strong, a classic case of love gone wrong. Maybe someday I'll get it right.
Somewhere in Kentucky, there's a man who's feeling lucky, sleeping with a woman that once was mine. Somewhere two lovers lie together side by side in a place that once was mine.
See you on the street, I wonder why we don't speak. I guess some broken hearts never met. The things I wish I'd said seem as empty as my bed. Maybe someday I'll get right.
Somewhere Kentucky, there's a man who's feeling lucky, sleeping with a woman that once was mine. Somewhere two lovers lie together side by side in a place that once was mine. Somewhere in Kentucky, there's a man who's feeling lucky, sleeping with a woman that once was mine. Somewhere two lovers lie together side by side in a place that once was mine. Very good.
Great.
This seems like a great place to end this edition of Overtones, episode number 21, talking about my Generation Edition. And Whitney and I would like to thank all of our musical Dream Team guests, Joslyn Hampton and Marty Charters, Ray Adams and his daughters, Chelsea Adams and Savannah Hash, and Greg Austin and Grayson Jenkins for giving us all a great opportunity to listen locally today. This is Renee Collins
And Whitney Acke,
working in concert each and every week to bring you the best this great state of Kentucky has to offer music fans, reminding you that where words fail, music speaks.
have a great week filled with music, family, friends, and a lot of love.
Listen locally.
Goodbye, everyone.